So one of the challenges and beauties of a day like today is that we're all together. And so if we try to do a 45-minute, 5-point sermon, we're probably going to lose half of our congregation to other things. And I'm not just talking about the kids, right, Andrew? People stop paying attention after about 20 minutes. So we got to try to figure out, how does God teach us something valuable, lasting, in a shorter amount of time? And part of the way that I feel like he's leading me to do this today is to just ask some questions. We all know there's lots of songs like I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas. Yes? All the things that we're dreaming of, the hopes we might have. And so I'm going to start with maybe our under 18ers here today. And so, Jackie, it's really important that you make sure Pastor Carol doesn't try to answer this question. All right, so I'm putting you in charge of her for right now. But I want to ask you a question. If you're under the age of 18, do you, and just by a show of hands, do you look forward to growing older? Let me just see. Show of hands. Do you look forward to becoming an adult, to growing up, to having some other stuff going on? Yeah? All right. Brenda's looking forward to it. Yes? All right. What would be some reasons for that? What are some things you look forward to when you grow up? What are some things that you look forward to? What's something you look forward to? Money. You want some money. Okay. All right. Let me just explain something to you. Just so that you're clear. I don't want you to feel really upset when you turn 30 and you don't have any money. It doesn't just come with age. But I get you. You want the ability to earn money, right? And to, do all that stuff. I got you. Now let me ask you a question. Why? Because you want to buy some stuff. All right, good. That's good. These are good, solid answers. They're honest answers. What's something you look forward to, Philip? Okay, so Philip wants a fancy car, so he's once again feeling like he'll be able to do that when he gets older. And the reason why is because he wants people to go, whoa, look at that car. What are some other things you guys are looking forward to? Come on, there's got to be some things you're looking forward to. Hannah? You're looking for some independence. Why? Because it's cool. All right, yeah. That's a very mature answer for independence. Yeah. So we want some independence. We want some money. We want a fan. What are some other things we're looking forward to as we get older? What are some things you can go, yeah, I hope this looks, I'm hoping for this. Yeah. Wisdom. Okay. All right. That's a pretty good one. All right. That's a very churchy answer. Very good. Very good. I like it. Neha. You're looking forward to when your parents can no longer say no. Okay. All right. Why? Why, Neha? Why? So if you want something, you can get it. Okay. Philip. Y'all letting Philip answer all the questions. Okay. All right. He wants to buy presents for his parents. Okay. That's sweet. Yeah, Tyus. Okay. Why? Because you don't get to choose what you get to do at school right now, and you want some power of choice. Yes? All right. Anything else? What's something else you look forward to? Nothing, Lydia. You want to be 13 your entire life. Is that what it is? Yeah, you're not looking forward to being able to have your own television, watch your own football games, none of that. You just, what do you look at? Tell me something. Freedom. Okay, why? You can do things without being told no. Okay, all right. Anybody else? Jan? You don't want to do anything when you get older? You're just going to live with Dad for... have him cook you dinner and do whatever he says? Because I'm sure you do everything your dad tells you to do right now, right? Yeah, Liar. Jackie, anything? What do you look forward to? What's something you go, man, when I grow up, I'm gonna Can I frame it that way for you guys? When I grow up, I'm gonna what? What's something? You answered lots. You answered lots. We got to get some other folks in here. All right, so you guys, it's almost like you guys understand the hack. If you don't talk, the sermon is shorter. But it also makes it far less valuable. So let's try to get a little chatter going. All right, I'll turn to the adults then. I'll turn to the adults, okay? So now, Jackie, Pastor, you have something? Okay, what is it? You want to graduate from university. Why? So that you can have an education and you can have some control over whatever happens next in your life. Okay, good. That's great. All right, let's talk to the adults now. Jackie, Pastor Carol's allowed to give one answer, okay? One. All right. Is there any of the adults in here, all right, whoever maybe, like when we dream, these kids are dreaming about, fancy cars and, all these other things. Do you ever dream about being able to be younger again? Adults, ever? Never? Yes? We got some honest people. Why do you dream about it sometimes? So my back doesn't hurt. Come on now. See, we're starting to get real. Any other adults in here Pastor Carol? Right? And why is that, Pastor Carol? Oh, you would still be an athlete. Okay. All right. Pastor Carol, you're an athlete. I'll put you up against any other person in their 70s, and I'll put my money on you. All right? Aaron. No responsibilities, right? Okay. Well, I think we think about these things, right? Yeah. Why? Why don't you want to make dinner every night? It's exhausting for who? For you. Yeah. I do dream about being younger sometimes. And usually if someone said, can you, give me this one thing you'd want to do? And I think about it sometimes. I can smell it. I can smell it. I can smell the football pads. I can smell them. There's a smell to football pads. It's not necessarily a good smell, but it's very distinct. All right? Stink being a key part of that. But there's something, when you put on football pads, you got to put these shoulder pads on. And not anymore. I know they're all modern now, but you would have to tie the center, and then you would get the strap, and you'd put it in here, and you'd put it in here, and you'd pull that jersey over, and for a minute you didn't know for sure if it was going to get over your head because they're so tight. And you get you get your pants on, and you got your uniform on, and you're going to run out onto this football field with 40 people, right? And I always think, I want that one more time. I want to go out there and do that one more time and not wake up with a bad back, right? There's times I think about it when I do wake up in the morning, often think about, wow, I used to be able to do that and not feel it in the morning, but now I feel it, right? I have a lot of these things. Now, let me ask you a question, though. Especially us older folks, I realize what we want, right? I realize, I would like this and this and this, but would you also trade all of the sovereignty you have over your own life now? So in other words, yes, you get to go back and be younger and your back's not going to hurt, but now someone else is going to tell you what you have to do every day when you got to wake up. They got to tell you how much homework you got. Do you understand what I'm saying? I really want to go back and play some football. At the same time, I don't really know that I also want the acne and the insecurity and the loneliness, even though I'm convinced this time I'd do better and I'd be loved more. But would I actually trade all of my, the things that I have earned over my life, of being able to choose when I come and when I go and all those other, would I really trade that? No way. No way. You just listen to every one of these kids, nearly every single answer, except I want to buy presents for my parents was about gaining some sort of sovereignty, leverage over their own life, right? The why behind what we all wanted came down to what would make us happy. And I want us to think about that for a second. Because I'm going to read a passage, and it's geared towards a group of people that really weren't doing well, and that's not God's intention for us. We're doing pretty well. But we talk about default cultures a lot in here. I want to talk about our default mindset. You realize that we just talked about what we all wanted, and it really came back to every one of us saying we wanted it because of us. Our default mindset was the reason I want to be younger is so that it would be good for me. The reason I want to be older is to be good for me. We didn't hear so it would be good for somebody else. Do you understand what I'm saying here? I want to read Philippians 2 today, and we're going to read a few of the verses. So today we're going to start with just 3 and 4. And this is what it says. It says, "Do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility consider one another as more important than yourselves. Do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also for the interests of others." Now, did you notice how all of the whys were about us? Did you notice that? Did it hit you that all of the reasons we wanted these things was because it would be good for us? Like, this is our default. And I know, and this is kind of the point of all this, I know that if we were to spend a little bit longer on this and we were to really talk about what we could do with some of our sovereignty, I'm pretty sure, especially in this group, we would come back to talking about some of the ways we could use that for the good of others. But do you realize that when just put out there, without us really kind of thinking about it, we immediately think about ourselves? About what's good for us? Right? So if we stopped and we thought about it, we would probably be more selfless, but that's not really our default thinking. And we've talked about maturing, right? And this is kind of that step. It was actually Elder Christina yesterday that helped me see it. Say, no, you need to talk about this because real maturity is when our mindset changes. Not just when we know what it means to be mature, but when we start thinking maturely. And so if all of us in this place kept coming back to what was good for us, then we do need to realize that a little bit we kind of think about ourselves. And so when we look at this passage in Philippians, there's people that are kind of just thinking about themselves. And Paul is writing to them and saying, you got to stop this. He says, do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit. Now, just to understand what that's about, it's selfish ambition. And I would say that when we were talking, I don't think any of us would be like, well, that's selfish ambition. But if we break it down, right, what is ambition? It's like our drive, our goal. Now, and the things that we were talking about, right? And I love our kids because our kids will just say it out loud, right, when we're thinking it, right? We won't say it out loud. Philip's like, I want a nice car. So people are like, woo, look at that guy, right? And there's nothing, listen, that response is a human response, but it's also very selfishly ambitious, is it not? Is it not? Are we not thinking from a standpoint that really is about what's good for us? Now, if we look at this a little bit further, all right, let me just put it out this way. Listen, today I need to be really clear. God is not upset. So I'm not here trying to grind everybody's gears. I believe he's trying to help us see a really simple truth, which is that it's actually hard for us to think beyond ourselves and what's good for me. And it requires us to actually work hard to put other people first. Now, it doesn't mean we don't want other people to be first and we don't want other people to have good stuff, but our default is to think about us. let me just pose this to you, and I want you to think about, over the last couple of weeks, we've talked a lot about hosting people who don't have a place to go for Christmas dinner. And you know what? Is there anybody in here that think that's a bad idea? We all think it's a great idea, right? That everybody should have somebody to go to Christmas dinner with, right? Would you take a moment and ask yourself why you didn't say you would host? Would you take a moment and just say, why didn't I answer that survey? And I'm guessing that a lot of our answers would come to, well, I was thinking about my family, or I was thinking about what I was going to do, or I was thinking about where, and on most of our defaults. But if I said, do you think that all these people should have a place to go for dinner? You'd be like, yes, absolutely. In fact, we had a great push for it as a church. Everybody thought it was a great idea. And this is ministry. We got lots of people. Everybody thinks there's 1,000 great ideas for us to do. And then when it's time for us to do them, yeah, but I need a little extra sleep Sunday mornings. I can't do this. When the reality hits, right? And let me ask you this, and this is what this passage says. It says, see someone else as more important than yourselves. Is your family's Christmas dinner more important than someone else having Christmas dinner? Because none of us would say yes. I hope that you're hearing what I'm saying. I don't think we have bad hearts. I really don't believe that's what God's point is. I think if we were to push ourselves far enough to think beyond ourselves, that initial thought, well, that makes practical sense. We only have 5 chairs, and there's 5 people in our family, so no. But what if God was asking us to think past that? What if God was asking us to think about the 4 chairs we have in storage? Do you see where we kind of get stuck a little bit? And we're like, we'll even say things to ourselves. Well, I'm sure glad the church is doing that. I'm sure glad. But now what happens when we have all these people who say they need some place to go, but there's no place for them to go? Because someone else was going to take care of it. Do you hear me? So we acknowledge in our spirit, that something is good and it should be done, right? We acknowledge in our spirit, we go, yeah, this is what we should do. But then when it comes to costing us something, we kind of draw the line. Well, now, if we had a few more chairs and we had already had something going on or someone else had canceled, we would have just said yes, but the thought of costing us a little bit more in a very busy season is not something that we really do well. How about this? Let me ask you this question, because this goes deeper. Do you think maybe that some people deserve their lot? I mean, I know it would be really hard for us to say it out loud, but, there's choices people make, right? There's choices people make, and that puts them in certain situations, and if they would have made different choices, then they would be having Christmas dinner. Do you ever maybe just dismiss this based on someone else's choices, that maybe that's not quite, maybe they just don't quite deserve this because of some of the choices that have made? Do you deserve yours? Do you really deserve the home that you're in and the meal that you're going to eat? Do you really deserve that? And that's the motivation behind all of this stuff. It's got this, when Paul's talking about empty conceit and thinking of others as more important than someone else, he's talking about, especially the empty, this is what's really great. The empty conceit is talking about somebody who's deluded, who actually believes that they and their family are more important than somebody else. And Paul says that's delusional. That's delusional thinking, that we would put other people behind ourselves, and yes, brothers and sisters, our family, because somehow or another in our minds, we've convinced ourselves that we're being good parents or good Christians when others are not experiencing the same good we are. So Paul says that instead we should act with humility. But by the grace of God, go I. I have room at my table for you. 2 different choices in my life, and I would have been right where you are. Let me ask you another question, building right off of that then. What would need to be sacrificed to truly give someone else the same opportunities you've been given? In Philippians 2, 5-8, this is what it says. It says the response to being selfishly ambitious, to being deluded over thinking we kind of have earned our space, is to be like Jesus. The response to selfish ambition, the response to I want my own personal sovereignty to do whatever I want to do because that will make me the happiest when I get to do what I want, is to be like Jesus. And this is what it says. Have this attitude in yourselves, which was also in Christ Jesus, who, as he already existed in the form of God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped. And can we just say that is ambition to a key? This is the key right here. Think about it. We're all reaching to try to get up and get on and get forward and get more. Even our responses, right, from our young people is about this idea. And that is what we do as human beings. We try to achieve more, to gain more, to get more. Usually sovereignty, we talk of happiness, but really it's all about making our own choices. And Jesus, instead of trying to become more powerful, more on his own, he didn't look at that as something to grasp for, to seek for, to dream of. But he emptied himself by taking the form of a bondservant and being born in the likeness of men. He emptied himself. So instead of looking and trying to achieve more power and more authority and more sovereignty, Jesus gave it up. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, death on a cross. Remember, really, all of this really came down to being able to make our own choices. Being able to have the power to dictate and control our lives. And now I want you to think as adults. Remember when we talked about how there's some things to get younger and we would really want, but there is absolutely no way we would trade our ability to make our own choices? Now I want you just for a moment, if you want to understand the wonder of Christmas, I want you to think about Jesus Christ, the creator of the universe, maker of heaven and earth, who spoke and things came into motion, who answers to no one, who can make something out of nothing, who could make the fanciest car in the entire universe and drive it around for all of us to see because he can. The one who has every piece of money at his disposal, every last financial resource, every lump of gold in the ground, he could call forth in a moment. The same Jesus who made and created and knitted us together in our mother's womb, that same Jesus gave up all of the power, all of the authority, all of the privilege, all of the ability, all of the financial wherewithal, all of everything to become nothing. To become a baby where he would have to depend on a human being to feed him and keep him clean. And this is where sometimes I wonder, how can we as people go, yeah, but social justice isn't biblical? Isn't what Jesus did the very definition of giving of himself? And why did he do that? So that we could have life and have it abundantly. And so today I believe that God is asking us, what comfort, what authority What privileges are we willing to forego so that the blessings of God can be shared with somebody else? You know, I have been moved over the last few years. It really did start in the times of COVID with just how argumentative we are about the thought of someone taking some of what we've earned and we've garnered and we've always had and having the audacity to suggest that someone else should have some of it. Sure, give them something, but not at the expense of me. No, of course I don't think there should be poor. Of course there shouldn't be hungry children, but don't take from me. And we have lots of reasons, right? I'll hear them. I will hear all of the reasonings about, well, you know, if you give a man a fish or you teach him to fish or you know, people from certain demographics, you know, it's just always going to be this way. But let me ask you a question. When Jesus gave up everything, he did it. I mean, what was the upside for him? Let me ask you a question. If you look across the world, at the world full of people, if you were to truly, honestly look at yourself, Jesus made a really bad bet. He gave up everything on the off chance that somebody like me might turn to him and say that I needed him. Think about all the people who have never acknowledged that sacrifice, and yet he did it. See, we can't mitigate our sacrifice based on whether or not we believe it will have benefit. We must be obedient as Christ did and give of ourselves and allow God to determine whether or not that sacrifice should go to somebody else or not. And brothers and sisters, we answer with more than our words. And this, I think, is the maturing piece. We answer with more than our words. Yes, my heart and soul cries out that we should do something about this and this and this and this. Yeah, that's what comes out of my mouth. That's what I believe. But when it comes to making a choice that's going to cost me, I choose me. I choose my family. I choose my space. And I choose my comfort. And the blessing ends with me. Finally, in verses 9 through 11, this is what it says. It says, for this reason. What reason? Because Jesus chose to empty himself. Because Jesus chose not to pursue power, but rather reconciliation. For this reason, also God highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name which is above every name, so that the name of Jesus every knee will bow, of those who are in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and that every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Young people, I want to give you something today that I don't think was given to me enough. I want to give you the opportunity to live and think differently. I want you to take a moment and learn from the example of Jesus Christ and not from your parents. I'm sorry, parents. Not from me, who thinks about me first. I want us to learn from Jesus today. Because there's a lie. It's a really big lie. It's a lie that keeps being told to you through messaging from different people in different places. And that lie is that somehow the pursuit of happiness and sovereignty and power will get you everything that you want. It's this belief that somehow you, through your efforts, and if you just wish upon a star and you dream it enough and you believe it enough, you're going to get your fancy car and your big degree and your finances and your money and your homes, and you're going to achieve and overcome and have all of that you would ever want, and your life is going to be great, and it's a lie. Because the reality is, the true path to leadership, to authority, to power is through servanthood. All the power that you obtain on your own through your smarts and your efforts, they'll never last. But the power that you are granted by God in response to your willingness to lay your life down can never be taken away. You will be honored, you will be remembered, and your legacy will be eternal. Brothers and sisters, we need to learn from Jesus. We need to change our default mindset. We need to acknowledge that the gospel, the good news, is only truly preached with our lives when we think of others before ourselves. Let's open our hearts. Let's open our minds. Let's open our tables. Let's open our families.